On June 28, 2025, the Bloxburg map revamp was officially released to the public. The map was controversial. Many people on TikTok shared their awful opinions about it, because you can't take a single f***ing word from people on TikTok. The player count has significantly declined, dropping from over 100,000 CCUs to only around 10,000 CCUs. Where did this all start?
Today we'll be going through a timeline of how Bloxburg took a fall throughout the last year and a half since Coffee Stain took over. The golden age for most of the community is said to be between 2016 to 2022, before Coeptus sold Bloxburg. Most of these updates during the time were fan favorites. These included, but were not limited to, the baby update, basketball update, and of course, seasonal updates. It wasn't all shits and giggles though. There was one controversy during a water slide update in September 2021. With version 0.99, Bloxburg made the water in game significantly worse than it was before. Personally, that was an ugly texture, causing the community to be outraged. This didn't last long, thankfully, as the next update they reverted the changes. This was also when the core audience was mostly younger at the time, which could be a fair argument that the player base has just grown up since then. Stick around and get some popcorn, because the next bit of the video is about to get pretty juicy. In late 2022, there was speculation among the community that the brand Embracer bought Bloxburg. And before you call me a dumbass in the comments, the brand was Embracer. The development group right now is called Coffee Stain. Anyway, statements were leaked that they now owned the legal rights to the name Welcome to Bloxburg. This was finally confirmed by Coeptus in January of 2023 with this statement. You can pause the video. I'm not reading all that. Everything seemed normal until April 2024, when Bloxburg released a new update, and well, the community had their own thoughts on the update.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all brought here today. We are all gathered here today. All 75 of you in the server.
Bloxburg made the biggest mistake in their lousy career. They changed the pay. They added towing fees and a hospital fee, even when there wasn't even a hospital. Makes sense, right? Anyway, you can probably see why this outraged the community. Even people outside the Bloxburg community were participating in these riots. That's how mainstream this went, from trending on Twitter to Creekcraft setting up a live stream for the riot. For weeks on end, there was no communication at all on the Bloxburg team's side. Flames only grew. The next month, Bloxburg decides to make the game free for everyone. It seemed like a good decision at the time, to help game players. A lot of people were actually enthusiastic about this. Unfortunately, this did end up backfiring. Bloxburg lost most of its player base. It's actually crazy. They had more players from when they were in beta, which is actually pretty depressing. It's also important to note, according to Froggy Hop's tweet, during the first bit of Coffee Stain running Bloxburg, Froggy Hop was in charge of the game. During the halfway point, management changed, which is thought to be why Bloxburg took a massive downturn. Thankfully, Froggy Hops is back in management, which is why the content got removed. Halloween was just around the corner. Personally speaking, I actually enjoyed the Halloween update, but obviously, these dumbass kids thought differently. Don't attack me. Because of the tickets, which is kind of fair because you have to go trick-or-treating at plots and get tickets, and it's just a big waste of time, which was low-key ass, but I can't blame Bloxburg because they were significantly falling off, and they needed people to stay in the game for at least a few hours. Unfortunately, after this update, it was pretty dry, as there was no update in November leading up to December when the Christmas update came. It was a similar system, with needing a shovel to gain tickets, which of course the people complained about, and you get the gist. On December 27th, they released a movie theater, replacing Beats nightclub, which of course people complained! Sorry, it just pisses me off how people complain about everything. The rest of the video will be somewhat serious. From this point, updates were pretty mid actually, including the Valentine's update and kind of an update during the April Fool's update where they added playgrounds that would later be in the map revamp. Moving on to a bigger controversy, Bloxburg made an extremely risky move by updating the UI that has been in the game since the release in 2016. Of course, this sparked up a flame that had died down recently before. Shown by this Reddit user, they explained, "Why did we accept the new UI? It really does not look good. A ton of people were complaining, trying to get the old one back when it first came out. Now no one says a peep about it. If we give enough feedback, we can get it back. Like what we did with the jobs." And in another post, they explained how the UI objectively sucked, describing how it's incredibly outdated to use phone UI. It seems like they didn't even try and hired someone cheap. The old UI was unique. Shown by this user, they redesigned the old UI, but better. This could have been a better option rather than the other UI. On June 19th, they made a very non-obvious teaser towards the live event that was shortly announced after on June 21st. this was the last chance Bloxburg had at saving the game. Did I surprise you? Comment down below if you think I'm chopped. Upon arrival of the new map, there was a lot of love, of course, but a lot of problems. Some of those problems led to a bigger downfall of the game. First off, there are a lot of lag issues. From this tweet that I saw from Cider_TV, it showed how a player who plays the game on mobile sees the game. It was seriously horrendous. It showcased the worst graphics imaginable. Picture this. Imagine being a kid, joining a game on your iPad, and seeing this. Yeah, I'm clicking off and moving on to an alternate roleplay game like Brookhaven or something. The lighting and textures were also horrible, even on computer. And still, there are a lot of problems with the render distance. And the best part of this video, we got a hold of Bloxburg YouTuber Cider TV, and he gave us his input on the Bloxburg map revamp and its future.
When I started playing Bloxburg back in 2017 and 2018, there was just a different feeling that I picked up on. We had YouTube content creator groups and common role-playing and building collabs that just don't really happen as often anymore. We had different building trends. We had conventions to meet people. I remember waking up on Saturday morning and waiting 2 hours in long queues to meet my favorite YouTubers, Comfy Sunday, Azria, Merly Twirly, these older YouTubers, and we just don't have that anymore. Chemical U, that was one of my favorite role plays. Poke, Kuiper, his girlfriend, and lots of other YouTubers participated in it to make this like multiverse of role plays that span across Bloxburg and different channels. And we don't do those things anymore. It's sort of like a lost art, I guess. But the Bloxburg of today just doesn't really have that same spirit in it, which I do recognize that games have their ups and downs, and you can't be a top 5 game forever. And eventually you're gonna have a rise and fall of every game. I don't think Bloxburg is ever gonna have its previous success again. I think the results of the map revamp, simply in terms of just player count, proved that to be true. That was supposed to be the saving grace, that and going free, and that just never ended up happening, unfortunately. But what I can say is that the quality of the updates is the same, if not better, at least now under Froggy Hops' leadership, and that the team is still dedicated to carrying the game forward for those that still do have the spirit, even if it's not on a community level, but it's more of an individual level. And being in the content creator program, I can definitely say that we're in good hands. I see them doing the work behind the scenes. So I don't think the game did anything wrong necessarily under Froggy Hops' leadership, at least. And I think moving forward, people should focus on making the most of the game for themselves. It may not be as big of a community or as tight-knit of a community, but I still think that you can find joy in playing Bloxburg. I definitely can whenever I do try to find time to get on. Although reminiscing on the past, is good sometimes. I think it's important, if you want to make the most of the game, to sometimes forget about that and just focus on what it can be in the future.
Well, as we near the end of this video, to wrap things up, is Bloxburg genuinely cooked? Well, quite frankly, I fear it is. Even with the school update that came, I still don't think it'll make a comeback. The player count has significantly dropped. The game is just built on old things that no longer interest the new generation. People don't want to work. They're lazy bums, hate to say it. And there's so many better alternatives for kids nowadays. We grew up, unfortunately. It's sad, but here we are. Unless Bloxburg changes the way the game works, it will never make a comeback.